looking for the poster child for the face of evil, one of the widely used concepts is the water serpent, especially a horned serpent. In my novels, I used a very real anecdote recorded by Jean-Nicolas Nicollet during his 1836 expedition. Mishi-Ginebig, who was Nicolet's guide to the headwaters, dramatically had all the expedition members lift their paddles lest they strike a water lily that descended to the depths. The name of the lake? Manitou, which is the Anishinaabe word for water spirit. The water spirit concept stayed with Nicolet on his other expeditions. In 1838, he explored a territory the Dakota called the Haunted Valley, where rivers flowed in all directions. He chose an odd old word from alchemy, undine, to describe the area. Undine, of course, is the old name for the water element, and with it comes allusion to the nymphs and sirens of old mythology, where sailors are lured to their doom. Later in Nicolet's expeditions, he visited Devil's Lake in North Dakota, which has stories of an enormous water spirit inhabiting the waters. Because of Nicolet, I went with a water serpent as the symbolic face of what haunts Lake Manitou in my Dreamcatcher Chronicles series. So let's take a look at the mythology behind the Horned Serpent legends. In Norse mythology, the arch-enemy of Thor is the largest, most powerful entity in the world, Jormungandr. The Norse serpent is such a threat to the world that Thor dies fighting it to the death. Dozens and dozens of other cultures also have tales of the evil serpent, so I'll stick to mostly the Minnesota mythology. The Oceti-Sakowin, the 7 council fires known to their enemies as the Sioux, told of a creature called the Unktehi. The Lakota tell a tale that it was the evil Unktehi that caused a great flood to destroy the world. After the flood, the great serpent was turned to stone at the present-day Badlands. So I really liked the apocalyptic traits, as also seen with Jormungandr. The Anishinaabe people have roots from the eastern seaboard all the way to the prairies of North Dakota. But an eastern legend caught my attention: the tale of Ayash and the Horned Serpent. Now, in this story, despite the warnings of his grandfather, Ayash is caught on an island when the Horned Serpent arrives. Even though the monster could easily swallow Ayash, the Horned Serpent has an enemy, the Thunderbird. Since the Horned Serpent can't see into the clouds, it asks Ayash to keep watch in exchange for a ride back to shore. Ever the trickster, Ayash doesn't steer right across the channel, but instead steers the Horned Serpent into shallow water, where he is vulnerable and ultimately killed by the Thunderbird. In the first book of the Dreamcatcher Chronicles, The Fire Handler, Lily Weber is a devout Christian who laughs at her grandfather's traditions, which include the Horned Serpent. But in the pages of the Bible, there are several serpents and horned serpent references. Obviously, the serpent in the garden is a symbol of evil and temptation. But buried in some of the Old Testament books are stories of serpents. Rahab, which means proud, reminds me of the Unctahi, chopped up and destroyed in a flood. Leviathan, who is described as the king of the children of pride, pride meaning Rahab, is a sea monster of terrible power, horrible to behold. If you're looking for a horned serpent, you can find one in prophecy. Daniel mentions beasts often connected to Alexander the Great, but the book of Revelation paints the picture of a multi-headed dragon with reference to Satan and the Antichrist. So when my character, Lily Weber, learns there might be a real horned serpent lurking in Lake Manitou, her mind spins with all the possibilities. The flood, the end times, Unctahi, the Manitou, the destroyer of the world.